it's a process that I have an idea, and then I try to take it to a logical end. Oftentimes I make mistakes and they go into the trash can. And sometimes I make mistakes and I keep them to put them up there to remind me, don't do that again. And it's also, especially being a panorama, it's sharing with other people and this collaborative effort so that we share and we learn from each other. I think it's wonderful. To me, that means it's art. I first got into art, per se, for me, it was fabric. And initially, when I was a kid, I was taught to knit. And so I've been knitting all my life, but that's the only art that I did. And then when I retired, I got into the fabric piece of it because I made a quilt for my mom. She went into assisted living, and I'd never made one before. It's not a big quilt, it's just a little quilt, but it had photographs of the entire family of all different years. And I really enjoyed doing it. And texture, textile, the tactile approach of it. And also, I use the sewing machine a lot. I'm not a hand quilter, I use the machine. And I love to see what that machine and I can do together. Also, I dye my own fabric. So to me, it's the juxtaposition of the colors, how they go together. And I'm often surprised. I'll put something up on my design board and I'll go, wow, I never thought of those two colors together, never in a million years. And all of a sudden it just pops. Fabric is a lot of things. It's tactile, it's color, it's manipulation and making it. You can make it into 3D, you can make it into 2D. You can, color is my favorite color. I like all colors. So purple is I really enjoy working with it, especially with orange. But what do I do with colors? Because this was just in black and white. So then you look outside your window and you say, you're in the Pacific Northwest, but better place, but for these beautiful greens. And then the challenging, you go to all these different stores looking for greens, and and some are not quite right, but some are great, and then this is green, and all sorts of greens. I mean, it runs the. This is what happens when I go to the fabric store. I had gone down to Sisters, Oregon, to take a class with a very famous woman down there named Jean Wells. She owns the Stitching Post in Sisters, and she's world renowned for her. They have a big quilt show, outdoor quilt show every year in Sisters, and the whole town is covered with quilts. And she started that 35 years ago. So anyway, I thought, that'd be a good person just to go down, check out. And so I go there, and it was a class for improvisational quilting, which means no templates, no, you didn't know where you're going with it. So I went there, so I get in the class. There were about 20 women in it. We all went around and introduced ourselves. I didn't realize it was an intermediate class, and I got to me. I said, "Oops, I'm a beginner. I've never pieced before in my life." And I think she was a little upset with me to begin with. But I went away from that class. I was so excited. I thought, "Oh, this is just took me out of my comfort zone totally." But it was so much fun. And I came home and I made this piece here, and what happened, I went down for a second class from her like 6 months later, and I told her, I said, I spent 3 months, that's all I did. I just was so excited about your class. And she said, April, when you finish that, I would like you to photograph it so I could put it in my book. And she did. And so I'm on page 61 of one of her books. So that was kind of exciting. And then I took it up to the LeConner quilt show, and I got a second prize. And then she also emailed me, I think a year later, and it was down, actually went into the annual summer show, quilt show in Sisters. So it's kind of fun. What I was also learning at the time was some of this paint, if you put it in the sun, it could change colors. If you put things on top of it, or if you manipulated it and scrunched it together, and then you'd have hills and valleys. It was very cool. So I did that. So there's a lot of different things going on in that piece besides color. It's just, I took a pinch pot class with Emily Zabransky. I hadn't done clay before, and I thought, I'm working with the clay, and I'm saying, oh, this is kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, you drop it and it breaks. And I said, I think there might be a better way. So that's why I just said, oh, let's try it with fabric. So, I just put a couple darts in and covered it up and manipulated it. One said it was beehive. Another one says it was raspberries. I think Carol Horner told me it was raspberry. Another one said, oh, I thought you'd knit a bunch of little kids' hats and they shrunk in the wash. And then the sea anemones, which is what I was intending. So, yeah, I thought that was fun. I really enjoyed what people's reaction was. Yeah, it's cool. Fabric art in itself is a new, I guess it's a new art. It's not your grandmother's quilt anymore. It's things that, you should see some of the artwork that has been done with fabric. And it's, I think it's now generally being accepted as artwork. There are a lot of, I think people say to you, you're either left-brained or right-brained. So coming from the left-brain world, how did you get over here to the right-brain world? And I'm thinking, I'm not so sure there's that distinction. But I was in another world. And I think that's a lot of what I like about art, is that it takes me someplace else, that I'm not worried about anything. I'm not, if you get angry at something, the anger goes away, the worry goes away. You're focused, so focused on what you're doing, and it's almost like time traveling, I think, in a way. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I did, and I went to a class up in Whidbey Island called, and took a class up there from a woman named Estrita Austin. She was from New York, and she says, "Bring a picture, and we'll make a fabric." And I thought, oh, and I'm thinking we're just going to print, Oh no, we put this thing down. I brought a picture of a wheel, off of a cart, and the other thing, I didn't have a lot of fabric, so I got onto eBay and ordered a bunch of batik fabrics. They call them fat quarters. It's a small 18 by 22 inch piece, and brought all of those, and then we got an overhead projector, put our photograph on the overhead projector, put it's called freezer paper up on the wall, and traced what we saw, and then we also traced that onto black fabric, and then we cut out then we started, auditioning different pieces of fabric for these different pieces. And so that's the result. And so in the background you see the black fabric, and then each of these pieces are cut out, and what we did, we fused it. We didn't stitch it, we fused it. And they have this stuff called fusible web, which you just put on the back and you heat it with an iron, and it sticks. So, and then where you didn't actually have, you didn't cut it right, the black shows through, so everything's like. Then what happened is I had almost finished it at the class, and one of the gals there said, "Oh, well, how are you going to quilt it?" And I looked, I said, "Quilt?" I didn't know what it meant. And so she said, she was from Alaska, and she said, "Tell you what, why don't you take my name and address, when you finish that and get it all fused and everything, send it to me and I'll quilt it for you." And so she did, and then she sent it back, and so she stitched all around these pieces to keep them, to give that dimensional feature to it. And then when it came back, I thought it needed some touches of color here and there, so for instance, this white right here, I painted it on with, acrylic paint, not knowing that I was supposed to do that or not do that. But I just thought, it just needed some depth. and in other places I took a charcoal pencil. So this is not something you'd wash ever. It's just purely for the wall. I mean, you dust it, that's it. So that was that, and then some of these other pictures up here. There's the iguana up there. That one is, I printed him. We had gone to the Galapagos, so I printed him off on fabric, and then I was practicing what they call free motion quilting, using my machine. And so you take your machine and you drop the feed dogs, and in other words, you're moving the piece really fast. And so I was practicing that because it takes some time to learn. And that's one of my favorite pieces. It was fun. And then basically, when you're making stuff and making pieces, or even you're looking at color, whatever, you want to stand back from it to get an appreciation of whether it's going to work or it's not going to work, or if something works with the piece or not. Or the other thing I do is I'll put something up there that I think I'm finalizing, and I'll leave it up there for a couple of weeks or even a week, and I'll keep coming back and looking at it. And if something strikes me wrong, then it gives me a chance to change it. But what I did is the design wall itself is that insulation that you get from Home Depot, and I cover it with flannel. And then I just screwed it to the wall. But fabric sticks to the flannel. I don't need to use pins. All these things that I've never been able to do in my life, I better do them. Because, yeah, time's running short. Now maybe I'll find something I just glom onto and say, wow, that's really what I want to keep doing. And I think that's great. We're fortunate to be here and have that ability to do this, and the funds to do so. Not everybody has that opportunity, and I think if I don't do it, I'm wasting my life, and wasting time. And even outside the panorama, that we have a lot of talent here. Good Lord. And it's just, this is the time to, so to speak, sharpen your pencils and let's show everybody. And I've just been extremely pleased with the talent here and how everybody's really kind of risen to the challenge. Let's show people. Tenacious. Probably. I persevere until I get what I want. I try anyway. Sometimes I'm not successful, but oftentimes I am. I like a challenge. And I want to be good at what I do. So that takes some tenacity. Study, work ethic, whatever. It just, yeah. I've always been like that.